What's going on, everyone? Welcome in. Kris Pursiainen here, just to talk quick stream, just talk some Knicks coaching search, take your guys' questions, comments, concerns, complaints, you name it. If you're watching on Twitter, you can watch on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, you can watch on Twitter. I'd recommend YouTube. I think that's better for viewers, but we'll see. Leave your comments. You can leave comments on either platform, Twitter or YouTube. So wherever you're watching, enjoy. If you're listening after the fact, if you're listening later on, because I finally figured out how to get the recordings of these live streams and upload them as podcasts. If you're listening later on, welcome on in. Appreciate you tuning in. Make sure to leave a 5-star rating, subscribe to the show, and continue to join us. Hit that notification bell on YouTube so that you can not miss a stream. But welcome on in. Good to have everyone. Don't forget to leave your comments or questions in the YouTube or Twitter chats if you're in here live. And what's going on? Hope everyone's doing well. Start of the weekend. So I know we got both Yankees and Mets tonight. Should be exciting, or at least something to talk about. Maybe not exciting for both teams. We'll see. If it's anything like yesterday, I think it could be. But yeah, welcome on in. We'll talk about I guess we'll start about talking about what the Knicks seem to be doing, what the Knicks seem to be looking for, what is going on. I can start out by saying I have no information regarding whether or not the Knicks have already conducted any interviews with any candidates. I have no idea. I don't know. They could have interviewed several or none or a negative amount, or I don't know. I don't know. So that I have no clue, no semblance of information about that. But we'll review the week in short by saying, like, the Knicks are their search is going to include both college and professional coaches, even if they are currently under contract. It seems to me personally like the Knicks approach, like it kind of has been to building their roster over the years as well, is let's think about what we want, and then let's think about what would fit the best, and then let's try to make that happen. And it probably won't work, but at least we found out. And from there, they can work their way down their list. So I'm of the impression that the Knicks organization has some sort of idea of maybe like a tier list of candidates. Maybe, you ever see those YouTube videos or anything where people take like fast foods or chips or anything, and they tier them, like S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier. Could be like movie sequels or superheroes or whatever, right? People do tier lists and stuff. I think the sense I get is that the Knicks have some semblance of a tier list, from which they are looking at names and beginning the process of even just confirming the potential availability or lack of availability of that candidate. So like, earlier this week, I reported Ime Udoka and Chris Finch were two names that I was hearing that the Knicks liked. I did not report that the Knicks would be hiring either candidate. I would be very surprised if either candidate ends up with any other team other than Houston and Minnesota, respectively. But then that got reported elsewhere a couple days later. So now we're all on the same page that like they're looking at professional head coaches, even if they're under contract, for the sake of finding out the hard way that their guys aren't available. I reported that they'll also be looking at college coaches. Then that was also reported separately a day or two later. And I reported to keep an eye on Jason Kidd. He just seemed to be, to me, a name that came up way too many times in conversations with different sources with regard to who the Knicks like, because to me, it's less about who the Knicks think they'll get and more about who the Knicks like. At least from that information, you can try and draw some sort of conclusions with regard to what they value in a potential next locker room strategist and leader. So I reported, that I had heard during the season a couple times that Chauncey Billups' name come up as someone that the Knicks could be interested in. Former championship winning point guard in the dead ball era when three-pointers weren't super abundant, really knows how to read the floor, really knows how to work the post and feed the post, but also create good shots and understands how to tilt a floor as a creator, but also somebody who is on the younger side of things and is open to being in collaboration with the front office, looking at analytics, understanding that young players need development. I've heard nothing but great things about Chauncey Billups and the extent to which he challenges his young players in Portland. That accountability and the extent to which he's willing to go to show his players and that he'll hold them accountable and actually hold them accountable, I think is something that the Knicks are looking for a little bit. Tom Thibodeau has certain requirements, but it also felt, and this is not sourced, this is just this is not anything I've heard that the team had a problem with. This is not anything, right? But Tom Thibodeau seemed to look past the flaws of playing someone like Josh Hart 40 plus minutes every game, because of what it was that he did bring to the table. And everyone loves pizza. Everyone loves pizza, right? But a lot of fans after the playoffs were upset about pizza. And you look into it and you see, well, they either get no pizza or they have to eat a full pie. There's no option in between 0 slices of pizza and 8 slices of pizza every other day. So the fans said, geez, just ban pizza. Just stop ordering pizza. And no one wants to end up feeling that way about pizza. No, everyone likes pizza, and everyone appreciates that pizza is a glue-like figure in our culinary community. But sometimes if you can only have a full pie of pizza at once and you can't have any less than 8 slices, you might just get sick of pizza to the point where you just want to get rid of all the pizza that you can see. So I do think that Knick fans and their frustrations with Josh Hart, while I understand, I do think that they're a little bit misplaced. I do think the anger is a little bit misplaced. And I do think I've seen Josh Hart probably be on the receiving end of a bit too much vitriol, at least from the online community. But, I think the Knicks are looking for someone who can bring some of the things that Tom Thibodeau brought to the table without necessarily also bringing all of the things that ended up resulting in them choosing that they needed a new voice for the organization. And that's the spin, right? That's been the spin. Shams Charania, very consistent, clear. Ramona Shelburne, everyone very clear, consistent. They need a new voice in the locker room, someone, a different voice. And it's not because Thibodeau lost the locker room, but they had meetings and they decided, well, there were some good things, but there were some things that could have been better. And this is all a bunch of nothing, right? It's all just, okay, ultimately, the Knicks didn't sit and say, well, the players like him. Some of that they also think he could have been better. And, it's just, we could use someone with a different voice. So, yeah, I guess let's just fire the coach that took us to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since before Kris was born. That's not happening. That's not happening. They clearly wanted something at the end of the day. And what I think I've been able to decipher from the candidates that we've both seen that they're interested in and heard that they would have had interest in if they could have, is that they want a coach who is versatile, who believes in a strong defensive foundation, who believes in coaching up defense, but who's flexible and who's willing to listen to the front office, not do everything they want and have no actual belief or spine or backbone. I think at a certain point, you want a head coach that actually believes things, because then they will want to coach those. Having a head coach that just coaches whatever you want them to do, that's not a head coach. That's a representative of the front office that is on the coaching staff. There is something to having a coach with their convictions, but I do think the Knicks are prioritizing, especially in an ever-changing NBA landscape where we're seeing teams like the Celtics and Pacers beat every kind of matchup because of the extent to which their rosters are versatile and their play styles are flexible. these playoffs felt a little bit like the Knicks had paper and rock, and the Pistons just had scissors. And so every time the Knicks threw paper out there, the Pistons were beating them. Once the Knicks realized to just keep throwing rock out there, they won the series. The Celtics, it felt a little bit like the Knicks and Celtics both had paper and rock. Sometimes they'd both play paper and things would even out. Sometimes they'd both play rock, things would even out. Every once in a while, they'd catch each other, paper and rock. The Knicks, obviously the ones with the paper, and the Celtics with the rock in that case, where the Knicks would win. But whatever. The Pacers don't have a super sharp pair of scissors or a super hard rock or a super, I don't know why does paper cover rock? Who made this game? Stupid. A super tough, who knows? Tough piece of paper. And the Celtics, they just had everything. And so they were able to beat. They were able to beat the Knicks in that way. So it seems like, the Knicks are looking for someone flexible, someone who can coach up the roster to be able to play several different styles of basketball effectively and be able to respond to whatever the matchup that they have in front of them is putting in front of them. Ironically, someone who will do what the game tells them to do. So yeah, man, I do think that there's something to that. And I think that seems to be what the Knicks are looking for. I don't think they need a point guard who won a championship in their career. I'm not saying like it's got to be, or even just like it's got to be Nash. Like it has to be like an all NBA point guard. No, that's not the point. The point is more so that seems to be the emphasis they have, at least to start. And again, not championship point. I just mean those traits, right? Flexible, experienced as a head coach, someone who's made mistakes and learned from them at other jobs or at other stops in their head coaching career, like someone who would work with the front office, but also have their own beliefs. I think if you look at the shot profile of the 2023-24 Mavericks, it makes a lot of sense that they would be interested in Jason Kidd. Especially in the playoffs when they had PJ Washington just sniping away from the corners. I think there's something to that. And other than that, man, I think we get to your comments now, right? Yeah, why not? Let's get to your comments. Okay. So, what do we got? First of all, what's up, everyone? Jacob says, yo, what up, Jacob? How we doing? Justin, heyo. Hope everyone's doing well. Again, like I said earlier, but I know not as many people were in here. Hope everyone's having a nice start to the weekend. Hope everyone is, feeling good. NBA finals going on. Pretty fun series so far. Just one game, but looks like it has potential to be a pretty great series. I think the Pacers' ability to have paper, rock, and scissors, even if OKC has the toughest rock out there, they have all three too. But OKC having the toughest rock matters until they meet like the indomitable, indefatigable spirit of the Indiana Pacers right now. So I hope we get a great series. Guillermo, what's up? Oh, from Uruguay. What's up, man? Yo, international KP. Hey now. What's up, Guillermo? Hope all's good. Saludo. Lefty, if you had to give a ranking in who the Knicks desire the most in their coaching search from 1 to 4, could you confidently build that list based on info you know? No. I could not confidently build a list of four top, the four top candidates. I could maybe build you a list, an attempted list of who out of who we know could be their top 4. But You know, like that. No, this is a yes or no question. I also assume you're wanting me to go deeper than a yes or no question and give you that list if I had it, but I don't have it. But gun to my head, it seems like um Finch, Udoka, Kid, in whatever order, is the top three, and good for them. And after that, I do think from there it gets into that like a next tier, right? There are some names that I've heard that I've not seen reported yet, um, that I would assume have a chance at being part of that tier. But think about it from my perspective, like I don't even really know the extent of the interest just yet. So feels unfair to be like just put out a one-dimensional shallow report of like the Knicks have interest in this person. Like, yeah, I have interest in Chick-fil-A for dinner tonight, but can't always get what we want. So, I feel like I don't know. Is Johnny Bryant part of that second tier? Maybe. I don't know the extent of the interest in him. I just know for sure he's someone who I think they have in the mix, who they're considering, who they are. And to me, it seems like their first step here was assessing the market, any potential uh, disagreements between coach and front office, the market of like existing NBA head coaches that are under contract. Who could they potentially get? That's why I think Kidd, Udoka, and Finch present as their top three options. But that just might be their first step with regard to checking out every candidate they can. I think once they exhaust these professional options, say the Mavericks, like Mark Stein reported today, are expected to decline an interview for Jason Kidd, taking him off the table entirely. I would expect the Knicks to move on to both creating like tier lists within their tiers of former head coaches, current assistant coaches, that professional landscape there. And then like I first reported earlier in the week, I believe on Wednesday, the collegiate landscape they're going to look into. Like I think I'm of the belief that there's a coach in the Big 12 that I would assume they would have some interest in. That's something that they will like, that's a bridge that they will cross if they need to. If they can get Chris Finch tomorrow, they won't talk to any college guys, So it really is in flux. They really are just trying to figure this out as it goes. Because, and a lot of people have been saying, well, how do you fire Tom Thibodeau without having an exact plan for your next successor? And it's like, you wanted them knowing who they would hire next with the team in the Eastern Conference Finals at a chance at coming back. That feels like a lot. I don't know. Like if the Knicks came back from 3-1, you would still wanted them to have fired Thibodeau. Is that not disrespectful to Thibodeau to be spending that time like publicly, basically damn near conducting a coaching search? Like a lot of that speculation for me, like obviously I'm sure the Knicks could have accomplished that through back channels and whatever, but one person leaks it. And then the team comes back and and all of a sudden your coach is like, you were trying to replace me during a series that I came back from 3-1 in. That's an awkward situation that feels easily avoidable to me. Yeah, it's a little bit like if they determine that Thibodeau's process during the playoffs was not the process of a coach that they feel they can win a championship with, it shouldn't matter whether or not they have a number one, like there has to be this guy or we're not firing Thibodeau successor in mind. Like maybe not a perfect analogy, maybe a little ridiculous of me here, but if you're dating someone and you figure out over the span of time that this person isn't right for you, you tell them as soon as possible. You don't like get on dating apps, assess the market, do interviews, and then maybe decide once you have a next partner in mind to jump ship. What the hell is wrong with you? Who would do that? That's like, so I guess it's funny to see people be so sure that the Knicks should have done that when I don't think that happens. But Lefty, I would think Finch is like their number one out there. Like if they did have a number one choice, if they did have a strong number one, I would assume Finch, but I don't know that. That's just from what I'm hearing, what I would piece together. Leslie, who is your choice for the Knicks' next coach? Kidd is 1 and Bryant is 2. This is tough, right? Because like I would say Finch or Udoka would be a great choice. I think Kidd would be good, pretty good. And with this front office particularly and their analytical investment and the extent to which Kidd would be supported in that regard and given good data and things, I would think he could be very good for the Knicks. But I don't know how feasible any of those guys are besides Udoka and Finch, who I think you can totally take out of the equation. So yeah, I guess this list is nice. But Mark Stein reported today the Mavericks expected to decline the Kidd interview. So I guess the list has to change from there. So we'll see as we figure out, what candidates they're really looking at. What yeah. Justin, when do you think the process starts? Bad timing for that question. LMAO. I mean, the process is going on right now. Like, I would think this is probably about what I was ranting about earlier. My fault. The process I would think is going on. Like, not would think. I know it's going on right now. It's happening right now. It's just about. I don't know that they've begun interviewing anybody. I think they're trying to figure out who they can even interview right now, because that's the group of candidates that would, to me, best represent their top choices and the hardest choices to make happen feasibly. So that's definitely the group you want to knock out first. So yeah, we'll see what we hear, in the coming days about a potential final update on any of those three Finch, Udoka, Kidd names where it's like definitely not happening. I would assume that will be the case for all three, but we don't know yet. It just seems that way because Stein reported they're expected to decline, right? If Mark had said they are declining, I would believe him 100%. But expected to decline, we'll see. I still believe him 100%. My point is we don't know that they actually have declined. I feel like, if anything, to keep Kidd happy as their head coach, they would grant the interview if Kidd wants to interview with the Knicks, right? You don't have to trade him to the Knicks. You can allow the interview. Jason Kidd, Lou says. Lou, what's going on? Good to see you in here. Always in here, always hanging out, talking hoops with us. Yeah, it would be a good hire in my opinion. And I think he could be very good for the New York Knicks. It's just a matter of, will the Mavericks grant this interview? I would guess yes. But who knows? Maybe they granted it and Kidd and the Knicks decided it wouldn't work, and so they all just did each other a favor, and the Knicks get to make it seem like they had no chance at him, and Kidd gets to make it seem like he never wanted to go. Who knows, right? Who knows how these things end up getting spun? I can just go off what's been reported today, which is that the Mavericks are expected to decline, and what I've reported, which is that the Knicks are interested. Pastor Claudio, clipboard Stan, what influence do the players have on the coaching selection process? I feel like this is a front office thing. Obviously, I'm sure as the front office whittles down their list, they will talk to the top players on the team, their named captain primarily, and figure out, if there's a fit, if the fit is good. But I also do feel like the Knicks have a good sense because they know all their guys so well. They know OG so well. They know Jaylen so well. They know Carl exceptionally well. Jaylen better than anyone in the world, maybe. Definitely. So like they know. They get what they need to do here. And I'm sure that part of that also is making the guys feel like they're involved and included, and they should be. So I would think players all feel like their voices are heard and taken into consideration legitimately. But if the front office had a candidate that was their runaway favorite that was ready to sign tonight, and like the players were fine with it and weren't gung-ho about it, I don't know that would stop the front office from getting that candidate. I think they're going to do what they think is best. That's the point of their job. Justin Stein said Knicks are not expected to be granted permission to talk to Kid. Able to confirm that? No, not able to confirm it. Like I said, I would guess the Mavericks let Kid talk to the Knicks, if anything, just to like keep Kid happy. But I don't know that anything comes of it. I don't know if he'll end up interviewing with the Knicks or not. I really don't know. But this is the latest report we have, and Stein's very reliable, very good at what he does. So I would buy it. Alex Dunn, Chauncey isn't a bad shout, to be fair. Yeah, but he extended in Portland, so not going to happen. But just gives you an idea of maybe what they're looking for, which I think Kid would fit very well. Udoka too. Lefty, Josh Hart is pizza. Yeah, that was that analogy. Yeah. Alex Dunn, we are hoping to emulate those Piston title teams with the Carlisle Brown coaching change, getting rid of Thibodeau. Might as well go for the Pistons title winning point guard too. Yeah. I mean, listen, he just signed an extension, so I wouldn't expect them to be able to make something happen there for that reason. Alex, prices of slices of pizza have gotten crazy, by the way. Side Talk was right. RIP dollar slices. Side Talk is never right about anything. But yeah. Well, they're $1.75 now. At least when they push it to $2 by like the end of 2025, we might need to hit the streets with pitchforks and torches. We'll reassess. Lefty, Josh Hart makes basketball more difficult for Jaylen Brunson. It's as simple as that. He puts a defender in driving lanes where they wouldn't be if they had to respect a shooter off ball. There are also ways that Josh Hart makes basketball easier for Jaylen Brunson. Their synergy in transition, Hart's aggressiveness on the rebounds. Hart just needs to be locked in on defense. I think this postseason, we saw him be very fatigued on the defensive end of the court and make mistakes that he doesn't normally make, like letting guys cut him backdoor because he was so fatigued. I do think a new coach will be able to hopefully find a balance, hopefully for Josh and hopefully for the Knicks and their fans, find a balance that doesn't lean as much into the diminishing returns of playing any player as much as Thibodeau played Josh Hart when that player is not an all-star. Cardiac Knicks, I didn't want Thibodeau back, but to fire him without having a verbal commitment from one of their top candidates is basically irresponsible. I completely disagree. I completely disagree here. I don't think this is a reasonable or rational viewpoint to have based on the NBA landscape, coaching markets in sports. I don't agree here. And I went into this in detail earlier on with a bunch of analogies that probably bored everyone in here. So in short, I'll just say, if you think a coach isn't the right fit for your team going forward, then you should go out and find someone who can be a better fit. Pat Riley was a radio broadcaster. Eric Spoelstra was a film intern, right? Like, sometimes the guy who's best for the job isn't someone who Vegas would say is the most likely to get it. Sometimes that's the point. Pastor Claudio, how can the Knicks be more versatile when Brunson holds the ball 9 minutes per game? Interesting question. I would say one, indications from Ramona Shelburne's reporting are that the Knicks want to reduce the extent to which Jaylen Brunson is on the ball, get more out of his off-ball catch and shooting ability, which is very elite, and add another ball handler or give more offensive responsibility to someone else on the roster. So Tom Thibodeau is why you didn't see an answer to this season, if you want to put it that way. So yeah. Cardiac Knicks, what if their candidates choose to either stay put or sign elsewhere? Then they move on. They move on to their next tier of preferred candidates. Now you forced to commit to someone you're not sure about. They weren't sure about Thibodeau. That's why they fired him. And they wanted a different voice and someone who's going to be more flexible and someone who when presented with overwhelming data that something is not working, will adapt or not let it get to that point. That just seems to be what they specifically want. Alex, reading between the lines, Wesley wanted rid of Thibodeau since at least last season. At least Leon got his friend the $30 million going away fee for backstabbing him and siding with Wes finally. Yeah, I don't know about this framing of the situation. I do think Wesley has been lower on Thibodeau, relatively speaking, in the front office because of his inability to maximize talents like Emmanuel Quickley and Quentin Grimes on the Knicks. But I don't think Leon Rose backstabbed Tom Thibodeau. Yeah. Jason, regardless of who the head coach is, I expect Leon Rose to build an elite coaching staff with a lot of high-level assistant coaches. Yeah, for sure, Jason. One thing I definitely watch out for here, though, is I don't know how many college coaches they might get on their assistant coaching staff now because of the way that buyouts and everything have changed and work. That could present a challenge. So Alex, Leon's done a good job last 5 years, so he's earned the benefit of trust, but it does make you raise an eyebrow. I concur. Didn't you just say he backstabbed the head coach? So you trust him? Do you trust him or not? Alex, F it, give it to Rick Brunson. Joking, of course. Listen, Rick Brunson is someone who is building up his resume as an assistant coach at the NBA level. 2 different teams now. And I would expect his experience to continue to grow over time. Maybe he will be a head coaching candidate one day. It might not be a joke. Leon has done many dumb ass. All right. I mean, sure, man. Sure. Whatever you think. I'll be Tom Thibodeau now. Leon's done whatever you think he's done. Alex Dunn, wish Dolan could butter Fertitta up with free Sphere tickets for life in the Sphere, and Fertitta would let us talk to Udoka. Yeah, I think Udoka would be a good coach. I think he fits what the Knicks are looking for, a former player who has a defensive mindset, who's flexible offensively, who clearly in Houston got the most defensively out of a group that wasn't necessarily laden with defensive talent, had some really talented players like Tari Eason, Amen Thompson, but not necessarily everyone else on that roster is super skilled defensively. So he's a very impressive coach. And I think it makes a lot of sense that the Knicks have interest. Joel Victoria says kid rumors. We'll see. We got to see, like I said, with Mark Stein reporting that the Mavs won't let the Knicks talk to him at all. So if that is true, that is going to be the case, then doesn't matter. If the Mavericks do let the Knicks talk to Kid, which they seem to have interest in, who knows, right? Things can change. Colin, good morning. Shout out Colin at the Strickland. Cardiac Knicks, Fournier contract, OG contract, OB over how. Oh, you're miserable. You are just miserable. Fournier contract, they turned into Mikal Bridges, but you complained about Mikal Bridges later, so nothing's going to make you happy. OG Anunoby contract, good value for a great player. OB over Halliburton, get a life. Like, how many other teams passed on Tyrese Halliburton? He also engineered a slide in the draft so he could go to a team that he wanted to go to, and then cried wolf that he fell in the draft. I don't know. At least that's what the reporting was at the time, was that his agents worked with teams to figure out if he wanted to go to Atlanta or Sacramento and we could play off like an all-star, which was genius because it really allowed him to figure out what the guy needs. And now he's the guy and he knows exactly what the guy needs. So he knows what he needs from his teammates. It was very good for his career. Colin, Jarrett Jack for Knicks coach. Yep. Hide your wives and children from full court jump shots, though. Alex, oh, I can't do this talk right now. Giving Tibbs an extension, then firing him before extension kicks in. Okay, people don't understand the NBA. Dolan can afford it. Yes, he can. Justin, say it. I don't know what you meant. Sorry. Colin, okay, legitimate question. Would you have concerns over bringing Finch in with his history with Cat? It feels different to me than Kid Brunson, but maybe I'm biased. Okay, legitimate question. Would you have concerns over bringing in Cat given his history with Tom Thibodeau? It feels different to me than Cat and Finch, but maybe I'm biased. You can always guys figure out to work together. Also, Finch was right in a sense. They got if he is who wanted a center to play next to Cat. Tom Thibodeau did the same thing once the playoffs came. So yeah, I don't know. Alex, they made serious money this year. Doesn't count a cap against our cap. No, coaching staffs do not count against the cap. That is why Dolan is always so great about paying. Hopefully they bring Thibodeau back when the dust settles in an executive role. I mean, he should go look for a coaching job. Latrell Sprewell is the American dream. Love that. Do the Knicks have any shot at Giannis or KD, and for what? What do you know? Please tell me. I love you guys. Giannis, like Jake Fisher said today, I don't effing know, guys, what Giannis wants. I don't know. Just like I put out today because I saw this press release that he bought equity in and is now promoting a Midwestern car wash with his brother Thanasis and Michael Carter Williams, former Buck. So maybe that means he wants to stay another year. Maybe he's just always looking for business opportunities no matter what. Who knows? I would think that they could trade for Kevin Durant if they wanted to. I don't think that the price that it will take to trade for Kevin Durant is one they'll want to pay for a 36-year-old. That's the sense I get there. With Giannis Antetokounmpo, I did first say that the kid stuff is probably connected to that because of Brock Aller always being 4 steps ahead. The Karl-Anthony Towns salary stands out as something that could go to Milwaukee or like somewhere in a 3-team trade. Maybe a team like the Spurs gets involved. Bridges goes there, Towns to Milwaukee, Antetokounmpo to New York. Like, we're all just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks right now. No one knows what Giannis wants, and that's really what it comes down to. Is he going to ask out or not? If he were to ask out and he were to say he only wants to extend with the Knicks and he were to blah, 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 yeah, sure, probably Towns and Hart or Towns and Bridges is enough. But that is that's like 3 bridges down the road to cross. Okay. What about Memphis coach Taylor Jenkins? I'm not sure that he's getting that much buzz around the league. And I think maybe he's someone who, and this is just conjecture for me, but maybe this is someone who could benefit from like a Kenny Atkinson type tenure under a coach like Steve Kerr, under some other head coaches, learning and then bringing their new perspective to the table. Jenkins is promising, but he's young, so he has time. Griffin, what's up? Is there a chance the Knicks completely go off the rails and hire someone we aren't even thinking about? Sure, there is a chance. I would say it would take literally all of their top candidates not being feasible to result in them hiring someone like potentially a head coach in the Big 12 conference, like I had mentioned earlier, and stuff like that. So, that those names that would be totally out of left field would come about if their immediate super top candidates aren't actually out there. Alex said Lou Will had a great quote about all that and the cat hate narrative on his podcast. I will look into that. Okay, that's not a question. This is a question. Is Jaylen Brunson untouchable? Yes. Could Cat be traded? Yes. What do you believe the front office will do? Removes? Please help me. Have you been kidnapped? Blink twice if you're in danger. I think the front office will look to shake something up. Maybe not super major. Towns and Anunoby are the 2 biggest salaries. Bridges is an expiring deal. Could Bridges be moved somewhere that he told them that he would extend there? Does he even know where he'd want to extend? Does he want to extend with the Knicks? So a lot of stuff to be determined that then will determine what the Knicks do. But yeah, I think stuff is up in the air. I don't think Jaylen Brunson being moved is up in the air. Omar, would it be wise to assume this search may drag out draft free agency? I mean, drag out has a certain connotation to it, right? I would say this search is going to go as fast as it reasonably can without the Knicks cutting corners or skipping steps. If they have to work way down the list, then so be it. It might take them weeks, but I would think that this is something that they're working on like every day actively, like all day, every day. right now, is the sense I get from the Knicks organization, that this is their concern, and their primary concern. Jason, there's a lot of Knicks PTSD that people are dealing with, constantly looking at things from a negative perspective. Yeah, very fair. Alex, I was joking with the backstabbing Leon. Funny. Mid Knicks, do you think Mike Brown is more of a head coaching candidate or an assistant coaching candidate? I would say a head coaching candidate. He's got lots of head coaching experience. Alex Dunn, LOL. I just think Tibbs ran his course. Team is starting to tune him out. Need a fresh choice / voice. I think Leon Rose has been good. Yeah, he's been good. So yeah. Jordan, I believe this current core of Knicks had the ceiling of a finals team, but the reason why Tibbs was fired was because he didn't use the regular season to find solutions or answers from his roster, and then I guess he's talking about Alex's comment. Yeah, I think so too. I don't think the Knicks going into the season saw this core as a contending title window team, but once they did become part of the Final Four teams out there, it became clear to me that, they're not going to be like, well, that's good enough. They're going to want the best they can do. And if they didn't feel their head coach was getting the most out of the group, how can you make any trades? How can you evaluate the talent on your roster if you don't feel like you're getting the most out of it that you can? You got to find out what they look like in that situation. Who's the Big 12 name you heard? I hate to be this guy, but like, what I'll report this as soon as I can. Jason, is Ari Report a legit source? He's been tweeting a lot of rumors lately. I know Ari, and good hardworking kid. Reminds me a lot of myself when I started out. I would always just say, let things come out from several sources, or live and die with someone if you want. But there are a lot of accounts out there that when they do get something wrong, they will delete it and not issue a correction. And things like that are a little tough sometimes. But yeah. Ari just reported that Giannis is staying just now. I believe that. I believe that Giannis is staying. I mean, like I posted earlier today, he's investing in Midwestern car washes, man. And, not that PR statements are legally binding, but it says win tickets to see Giannis and the Bucks. Like, I'm sure they would give them Bucks tickets when Giannis comes and plays or whatever, if he does go to another team. One of my hot takes, like before the Knicks playoff run even ended, was that Giannis will be in Milwaukee next year. I just don't think he goes anywhere. So yeah, Arian, good kid, hard worker, persistent. So I buy it. If he reported that, I buy it. If you see any reports get deleted and not addressed or anything, maybe then not as believable. Anyway, I've got to run. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much. Time to go get some work done. I will catch you. Thanks for tuning in. Continue to tune into the live streams on my Twitter, my YouTube. I will see you guys.